Take a look at the images that are coming into the newsroom tonight. They are truly like something out of a disaster movie.
Powerful winds, smoke, all of it creating a dangerous situation on Maui.
Oh my God, bro.
Everything was on fire all around us. It was something none of us had ever seen.
You gotta go!
We're surrounded by fire on both ends. We can't get out.
I told my wife, don't try to save me, otherwise you're gonna die too.
And I say, please, don't go. I don't want to lose you.
There's a family. I said, you need to come in. Just come in the water. And he said, they don't know how to swim.
Nobody knows the trouble we're in.
There's a lot of us out here, and if somebody doesn't come rescue us, we could die.
Get out of Lahaina, the entire city.
No other place in the world is like Maui. It's definitely one of the most beautiful places in the world. And each part of the island has its own little personality, its own little thing kind of going on.
I would not choose to live anywhere else. All of my roots are here in Lahaina on Maui, and it's such a relaxing island. Lahaina's on the shoreline on the west side, and you can find the beach almost anywhere you drive. Front Street, it's probably less than a half a mile where all the stores and restaurants and everything is. It overlooks a beautiful seawall.
It's almost the ultimate small town. It is cute, it is weird, it is historically so rich, and it's just kind of funky, but it's got such deep roots.
Now let's roll a little bit farther out into the Pacific, and we've still got a pretty powerful, small but powerful hurricane named Dora.
What do you need to know about Dora? Category 4 now, tracked well south of Hawaii. So really, the only issue for us will be the winds and dry conditions. Dry conditions plus wind is not good because you can easily start fires.
My wife, Chrissy, she had actually been watching the storm for a while. We are both captains. We met in the harbor, in Lahaina Harbor, and we had just put our brand new boat into the harbor. We had started this new company, and we put every penny we had into our boat. So we were watching the storm extra closely.
Being a boat captain for 25 years, I'm obsessed with weather. I'd been tracking this system about 10 days out, and as it approached Hawaii, I got more and more worried. So I knew we were going to get some weather, I knew we were going to get some wind, but we had no idea what was coming at us.
We have a home-based doggy boarding, grooming, and daycare that we run here on the island. We both have loved dogs our whole life, have worked with dogs, and we decided to go after what we enjoy, kind of start that business together.
This is my passion. I first started in New York, and I moved to Hawaii. I love what I do.
On that morning, I woke up probably about 7 o'clock. Our electric was off, which is sometimes happens. I never take it too seriously. But I heard how much our windows were shaking, so I knew that there were some really heavy winds.
I was scared because it was windy, but I thought we were safe.
For some reason, my spidey sense was going off that something is not right.
In my entire life living here on the islands, I've never seen winds as high as that was. The trees were starting to just sway back and forth. Telephone poles were leaned across the street. We knew that something was not right that morning.
It was an extremely busy day. We were getting a lot of calls, roofs being blown off, trees being blown over, power lines down.
911. There's debris flying. It's really scary. What are we supposed to do? We cannot be running around.
It was probably about 2:30 p.m. Emma said, you know, I don't feel right about the weather.
Like, I just felt weird, and I felt like we needed to go check on the boat. We needed to go down to the harbor to check on things. So we did.
As we headed to the harbor, the wind was just relentless.
Things were deteriorating as soon as we got there. There were boats that the wind had actually pushed under the docks, and then the tide rose, and so they were stuck. Some were like calling their owners and trying to like let them know.
That's when we started to see the town actually come apart. Signs were dangling, awnings were ripped off. We were constantly getting hit with debris while we were in the harbor.
We actually saw one of our friends got hit in the head with a shingle. You know, like roofs are coming off.
And then we heard there might be a fire starting.
911, what is your emergency?
Hi, I'm calling about a fire on Lahaina Luna that just started.
Are you seeing flames?
Yes, lots of them.
We got the call for the initial brush fire. We had units all the way around it. The visibility wasn't so good, so there's a lot of smoke, so you couldn't really see everything that was going on. I mean, it was really windy, but, you know, we'd been to brush fires that size dozens and dozens of times before. I think with the wind and the weather, I don't think we were prepared to deal with the type of fire behavior we were getting from that. It was something none of us had ever seen. Fire was taking off so fast, like within 10 minutes, it just seemed like every house on both sides of the street were all on fire.
I decided to go and check out the neighborhood. I hop in my truck, get up to the first road, which is less than 30 seconds, make a right, and then everything is on fire. People were running out of their houses that were already on fire with their kids. People were screaming. People didn't know where to go.
Oh my God.
People just fleeing for their lives. So I immediately knew that, you know, our house was going to be in this line of fire. From the very beginning, it was survival mode.
I love you so much. Don't ever forget how much I care about you. Please, please.
That morning on August 8th, I was done work. I do an overnight shift at this recovery treatment center. And I got home, I wanted to sleep, so I fell asleep. And later on, a roommate of mine woke me up, yelling, "Hey, where's all that smoke coming from?" I came storming out, and Micah was in the driveway. Micah's my nephew, and we look up, and we see these black smokes just roaring through the air. And at that point, we decided that we gotta go. So we hopped into my vehicle. And traffic was just bumper to bumper, heading up north. The roads going south were blocked because of the telephone poles and trees that were down. There was no way we were going to get through that way. The police officers were directing everyone to go down to Front Street.
911.
I am on Front Street right now, and there is a house on fire. We are caught in massive traffic, and where the ashes are engulfing our car.
I remember it in bits and pieces, and I can picture in my head these certain stages where the fire's at. I remember looking down at Lahaina town and just seeing a massive cloud of black smoke. I just remember thinking, that's just one giant structure fire. We're not stopping this.
I think the point at which I started to be like, something is terribly wrong here was when we heard explosions. And then after that, very quickly, the black smoke started to fill in.
We take a firefighting course to get the license that I have for ships. And so one thing that we're taught is, what does this certain color of smoke mean? So when I saw black smoke, that told me that structures were on fire.
Oh my God. That's daytime. This is nighttime.
We see Fleetwood's on fire, which is a very old historical building on Front Street. And when we saw the explosion from the upper roof, we knew we were in trouble, because if this iconic old historical building is going to burn and we don't have 100 firefighters on it, we knew that nobody's coming to help us.
When I saw the house was already on fire with people running out of it, I immediately knew like this is a fast-moving fire. I back up over somebody's yard, make a 3-point turn, head back to the house. I run back inside, scaring my wife because of how fast I open that door. Like, we need to go now. Since we run a doggy daycare and boarding out of our home, we had 5 dogs with us that day. We gathered the dogs, put on their leashes, put them all in the truck as fast as we possibly could, and then we took off.
I was thinking, okay, we're gonna lose our house, but we're gonna be safe. I don't think nothing is gonna happen with us.
We started going down our road, and I realized now the fire is up the mountain, so I can't go up the mountain to the right. And to my left on the highway was an officer blocking the road. He was in a panic. So I was forced to now just go down Front Street. You can just see this dark gray smoke starting to cover the town. But we were just all stuck in traffic. Everybody was trying to flee and didn't know where to go. Then I see the fire getting closer and closer. It looked like I already jumped the highway at this point, which is like less than 100 yards from us. Now you have people driving opposite lanes to get away from the fire, oncoming traffic, people driving up on the sidewalk, people with their motorcycles driving in and out of traffic. And you're feeling this intense kind of heat. And I realized that where we were waiting to go is now on fire.
We cannot move. It's a lot of car, and we can see the fire. This time I say, now we need to worry, because I don't think we're gonna survive.
We managed to get to the end of Front Street, the end of the seawall where everything began. We heard an explosion, and that explosion launched some fireballs up to another house. And next thing you know, the house caught on fire. And I finally said, Michael, we need to abandon the car. And we went down to the seawall. It was pitch black. It made Lahaina look like it was midnight. You couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. At that point is when I met Visai and his family. He had his wife and his 5 kids. Looking at his family, they were so terrified. We were okay for about 10 minutes, and then the heat started to get really, really bad. And I looked at Visai and I said, you need to bring your family in the water. And he said, I can't, they're not gonna come, they don't know how to swim.
Emergency.
Everybody's trapped. Everybody's trapped.
We just can't get out. There's no way out.
Propane tanks were blowing off all over the place. Explosions going on everywhere. Everybody was totally overwhelmed. We couldn't get to Front Street because we were trying to stop the north and south progression of the fire. And even if we did have unlimited resources, it was pretty much at the mercy of the wind.
I have to admit that I was almost in denial that our town was burning down, and I wasn't in a rush to get out of the harbor. And at that point, when I snapped out of it, was probably when Emma looked at me. It was this look of fear that no one should ever see their partner go through. It broke me to see her, you know, be so afraid.
There's a flamethrower bearing down on you, essentially. And then your other choice is going out to sea and facing 80-mile-an-hour winds. And so that's not an easy decision to make. We didn't see the Coast Guard. We didn't see any other help. If anything went wrong and you get swept away to sea, who's gonna know? There was no one, no help was coming, and we just needed to do what we could to save ourselves and those around us. And so that was the decision that we made.
My only goal was to get Emma out safe and whoever else was around there that I could get out as well, just to make sure that we lived.
All of a sudden, traffic just jams up, everybody stops. Then I see the fire getting closer and closer.
Everything is at a standstill. Front Street at a standstill. They're backed up and the fire's moving fast.
So now it's time to get out and start running the opposite way. We got the 5 dogs with us. My wife was carrying some, I was carrying some, and we just started going as fast as we could. And I'm thinking, we're surrounded by all wood. We're surrounded by fuel for this fire. We got to get to the long stretch of seawall and an ocean that we could get away from those buildings. The smoke was the thickest smoke that I've ever seen. It was very hard to see the dogs. The only thing I could see is maybe like a couple feet in front of me. I could mostly see the white dogs. And that's the first I grabbed was 2 white dogs. And then the other 3, I didn't know exactly where they were, but I could feel the heat coming on me, and I could already feel my eyes like burning, where it was making it very difficult to see. And then we made that decision just to jump the wall and try to get down as far as we could. But you could literally feel the embers hitting us, and we could barely breathe.
It was a lot of smoke. It's a lot of fire. And Mike gave me his shirt for me to put on my nose.
My wife was definitely in a panic, and I remember telling her that I love her, because at that point, I thought we were probably gonna die. We're surrounded by fire, and then there's so much smoke going out into the ocean. If we jump in the ocean too, we might die out there.
I'm not a good swimmer, and I saw a lot of people in the water try to survive. I remember a family there with, I think, 3 kids and a baby, and the boy said to her mom, "Mom, I don't want to die, I don't want to die." We were so scared because Mike said, "We're not going to make it."
If anybody does find this, we're going to take it.
I called my mom, told her I loved her, said, I'm not sure if we're gonna make it out of this. We are surrounded by fire.
And Michael calls me and he tells me that he's getting ready to jump in the water. I could hear people screaming in the background. I could hear people crying. I could hear the ocean. I could hear the waves. I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed.
She kept on asking, what can I do? And all I said, just send help. And then that's when everything just started to really explode. Because starting to hit some of these propane tanks. So then I realized I can't get all the dogs in the water.
He said, "We have to jump in the water because if you don't jump, we're not going to survive."
There's a family and they need help. I looked at Visay. I told him, "Go grab your son. Let me grab him and bring him in the water." And he said his wife was not gonna come in. I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, you need to come in. Just come in the water. If not, you're gonna burn." At that point, he grabbed her and we brought her out in the water along with the rest of his kids. I didn't know how far out we needed to go, and we were close enough to shore to get hit by the debris that was flying around. The winds were gusting really, really fast. Every time we heard an explosion, it launched a red flame somewhere else. We were in the water in front of Bubba Gump's on the seawall. And at that point, just before Bubba Gump's went up in flames, a big gust of wind came through and blew one of the plywoods off of the building. And I just so happened glanced and saw that plywood in the ocean about 20 yards away from us. I went and got the plywood, and I said, "This plywood is gonna save our life."
911 emergency, how can I help you? My mom and my baby are still up on Lahaina Luna Road. 911.
If you guys don't come now, we're gonna die.
Where are you folks at?
We're on the harbor.
Go into the water. That is going to be your best and safest place. Yes, ma'am.
And is there any way we can get rescued by boat or anything?
That was absolutely the most intense fire situation I've ever been in. Nothing compares to that. These gusts would come through that were they were so strong it felt like it was gonna blow you off your feet. And you would just be in this intense ember wash, and debris and dust would just be flying in your face, smoke, and I remember just having to just tuck up behind the truck. And there was quite a few of those moments where it's just like just coming to the realization that, like, you know, nothing we're doing is gonna have any effect.
Police! Fire! Guys, yeah, we gotta clear everybody out. Everybody evacuate. Oh my God.
Oh my God,
Just
bro.
go, Dad, just go. Oh.
At that point, getting our boat out didn't matter. Saving ourselves and saving whoever was around us, that was really what mattered. It was kind of panic mode because the smoke was so much, I couldn't even see, I couldn't even breathe.
The only safety, which is bizarre, in 80-mile-an-hour winds is to go out to sea, go onto the ocean. Maybe we could have gotten our boat out with the horsepower that we have, but there were other people that tried to back out, and because of the wind, they actually could not get out of the slip. They could not get out of the harbor.
So I said goodbye to my boat. I grabbed a small 10-foot skiff. It's not even my boat. I just took it. And keep in mind, nobody wants to take a 10-foot boat out into hurricane force winds, but it was a smaller, more maneuverable vessel. And so we drive out of the harbor. It was just this moment of shock and now survival, because we're now downwind of all of these explosions. And at that point, Emma looked at me and she said, "Chrissy, the harbor's gone."
Visai and his family, his wife, his kids didn't know how to swim. We all hung on to the plywood. We had to go off a shoreline further out, and they were kind of panicking because when we moved out, we couldn't touch bottom. And I stared in Visai's eyes because I was across the board from him, and I did see fear in him, and I don't blame him because that's his family. I had his son, and he was terrified. He clung onto my neck, just super tight. There was people in the water with dogs, older people, younger people, all kinds of ages was in the water. It just scared. We had to cover our whole head with our shirts because we couldn't breathe. That scared me. That made me think that, you know, we might not make it out of here. At about 4 hours in, I lost Micah, my nephew, in the water somewhere. I lost track of him, and I needed to find him. I said, Visay, I need to give you back your son. I need to go find my nephew. But I said, as soon as I get to shore, I will make sure for you guys to get rescued. Because I knew how to swim, I was a surf instructor for 7 years. I believe that had a lot to do with me being able to work my way to shore, away from all of the flames that were catching up. And I finally made it to the shoreline, and I got up to the front street, and I ran into a police officer, and I said, "Officer, you need to go in front of Bubba Gump's wall. There's a family, and they need help." And he said, "Okay, we'll get help." I ended up walking to my sister's house, which is about 5 miles up north. When I knocked on the door, I said, "Is Micah here?" And they said, "No, he's not." And at that point, we were terrified.
So at that point, I had 2 dogs. And the other 3, I didn't know exactly where they were. We start to swim out, and I have the 2 dogs. And once we're out in that water, you know, we're now even getting hit by the embers in the water. So I remember kept on having to dunk underwater because my back and my neck were getting burned. We can only tread water for so long in with these dogs. What do? Do I move closer to the fire and get a little bit burned and not drowned? Or do I get further away from the fire, not get as burned, and then possibly drown?
We are so deep for me, now for Mike. And I say, "Mike, I don't know, I can't make it." He said, "We're gonna make it. We're gonna survive this."
There was times where I started to go under, and I told my wife that if I started to go under again and I don't come back up, or if I'm drowning, don't try to save me, otherwise you're gonna die too. I want you to just save yourself. But it was surreal and straight up like out of a war zone, because you're still hearing all these explosions. You're feeling like the shock wave from it going off. You're feeling the cars explode. And when the cars explode, you don't know if that next one's gonna be the one that's right next to you. We were starting to fall asleep in the water. And I realized if we fall asleep, we're dead out here. So even though it's more dangerous on that shore right now, let's get back over there, find a spot, and just tuck our heads into the rocks.
Mike say, I have to check the dogs and to see if I can find them. And I say, okay, go.
Now's the time, like I can might be able to get up and get them without dying. They have to be somewhere along this line. So then I start going down Front Street. I start yelling the dogs' names, you know, Asher, Rocket.
Asher, Rocket.
You know, and I kept on coming back. I kept on being more and more out of breath and getting like sick and vomiting. And I'd get my composure and then I'd go back.
Rocket.
When he come back again, he cannot breathe. And I say, please, don't go. Don't go because I don't want to lose you.
Asher, Rocket.
Because I thought he's gonna die at this time.
So the first responders, they weren't just protecting where they work, they were protecting where they grew up, where they live, where their families live, where their friends are from. 4 of the people we were with, their houses were burning. No, I don't think we really had the time to process it. We were just basically trying to keep ourselves alive.
We're less than a half mile offshore of the fires and the explosions. I can see the town is burning, and at that point, we're not seeing any first responders. We're not seeing any blue lights. We're not seeing any red lights. There's no flashing lights anywhere. We said, okay, we're gonna go back to the harbor and see if there's survivors. Right before we headed out, I'd gotten a call from a TV news reporter, and she said, Chrissy, I got your number from my auntie. Can you tell us what's happening? At that point, my drive to go out and help people was even stronger because nobody knows the trouble we're in. And I told her, I said, we need help. People are dying. There are no first responders. This is something like on the scale of Pearl Harbor. The entire town is gone. We make our turn into the harbor, and it's just this horrible scene. Everything is on fire. As we're entering the channel, the surf spot where kids surf, a really popular surf spot, the waves that are breaking are actually on fire. We don't see any obvious survivors, but we know these vessels next to us are minutes from exploding.
So throughout the night, I was constantly checking my messages, constantly checking the signal, sending messages to my mom like, hey, we need help. Even though it didn't go through, it was loading. So if it got a cell phone signal, at least it was send it to her.
All I knew is he was on Front Street somewhere and that he's surrounded by fire. The only thing I could think about doing was calling the Coast Guard. A man named John answered. He was on it. He's like, where are they at? What's their cell phone numbers?
So, Mike, if you could please give the Coast Guard a call. Our phone number is 808. Thank you.
My phone starts ringing, and it literally says U.S. Coast Guard. And my heart just, skipped a beat. Like, this is it. We're going to get rescued. I picked up the phone, and it was a guy named John.
Hey, is this Michael?
Yes, this is Mike. I can see you guys.
So you just see the boat, okay?
We're staring at you in the lights, but we don't see anybody coming in over the break. You know that reef out there.
Okay. And how many are there with you? How many people are with you?
I mean, there's a lot. There's got to be at least 50 people.
50.
50. And we're surrounded by fire on both ends. We can't get out.
John ended up being like my voice in the darkness that night to kind of prepare me what needs to be done so we can get everybody out of there.
Get everyone together. Everyone you can together, please.
Coast Guard's picking us up. Go. Everybody stay together over there. Go.
Then everybody started to gather their stuff, and I started to get them into a larger group of people.
Hey, where are you? Are you okay? Gotta get up.
When I was going up to these people, first I was making sure that they're okay, because some of them I thought they were dead. I've seen burns before, and I've never seen burns that bad, where people look disfigured. I was trying to get them to come down the sidewalk and get to the group of people I started kind of getting together on the north end.
Right here's bad. There's a lot of smoke. You gotta go.
The water's rough, the fire's still going, but at least there's hope.
You're doing great, Michael. Keep going. Get as many people as close to the Coast Guard boat as you can, okay? If you have a flashlight, I want everyone to flash their flashlight towards the Coast Guard boat, okay?
Okay. Everybody, turn on all your lights.
We heard on the radio, the Coast Guard made a call that said, there are people in the water, 50 to 100 people off of Front Street. So as we're driving around, we see an SOS light. So we radio the Coast Guard, we have an SOS light on shore. We think we found the survivors.
The Coast Guard couldn't even come in with their boat. They were a quarter mile plus offshore. How is it gonna help to bring a larger boat in, run that boat aground, and then cause another need for emergency response?
I tell the Coast Guard, listen, we're on a small boat. I know this reef like the back of my hand. And they said, okay, can you come and get our rescue swimmer? We said, absolutely.
Sir, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So we have a rescue swimmer, right? He's coming to you. We can't get our boat close enough to you guys, so more than likely you guys are going to have to enter the water with the Coast Guard rescue swimmer, okay?
I realized that I need to step away from the group because I don't want them to hear what I'm about to say next, which is everybody's in a panic. You have people that are scared of water, elderly. Once I got to the point where I said that there's children out here, everything just kind of stopped. He immediately is like, wait, back up. We have kids down there. Those kids are the priority. You need to get them on that boat first.
Make sure everyone knows we're going to prioritize those kids, right?
Okay.
We go and we grab the rescue swimmer and we're heading in, and the backdrop is just, it's all fire. It was a risky operation, but we were the only vessel that was small enough to come in over the reef to get to these people.
And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, how are we gonna do this? How are they gonna get these people, children, elderly, animals, how are they going to do all this?
Can you give me a little assessment of what people are looking like? What's people's status? How are the kids doing?
People are scared. People are really scared.
We are on Front Street. There's a lot of us out here, and if somebody doesn't come rescue us, we could die. Now, I was speaking to a Coast Guard named John, and he basically said that we have to send in rescue swimmers on paddleboards.
So the weather was pushing our rescue swimmer out, and he's now on the dinghy and coming in with a surfboard.
The scene seems very unsafe to send a rescue swimmer in because there's so much fire.
We were in 5 feet of water, trying to get as close to the shore as we possibly could.
And I prepared all the parents that I saw that had their kids. I'm like, so you know, when they come up, we have to be prepared for them to go out first.
We send the rescue swimmer in, and we kind of back out of the surf. At this point, surf's building. It's incredibly dangerous.
I see him. I see him. Coast Guard, you see him?
You see him?
Hey! Yes, on a paddleboard.
Once the rescue swimmer came on shore, they said, okay, who's coming with us? Nobody wanted to hop on the boards. Everybody was scared. So I went up to those parents and I'm like, you need to give me your kids. Like, we need to get them out of here. And the little girl, I think she was about 4 years old. And the boy, I think he was probably about 12 years old. They're both very scared. And, you know, all I could do is tell her everything is going to be okay. Like, this is the best part of the night. We're being rescued. She got on that brave face and they took her out and right into the smoke and the water, and you don't see them again.
We're watching, and we see the rescue swimmer have 2 kids with them. Emma reaches over, she pulls the kids onto the boat. So I radio to the Coast Guard, we've got children. We head to the Coast Guard vessel, and Emma puts the kids on the Coast Guard vessel. At that point, I see a fire truck show up on Front Street.
You know, we heard on the radio that about 50 people were down there by the Waikiki Brewing Company that had jumped in the water and needed rescue.
I'm getting a call from the Coast Guard. And they said there's people that they were trying to assist getting out of the area. They're asking for any assistance.
So we went down there with a few apparatus. You know, we had some lifeguard utility trucks, pickup trucks. We just jumped in whatever we could get. Everything was on fire all around us, cars in the middle of the road. So it took us a while to even just be able to figure out how we can find a path through.
So far was able to make it down Front Street, and we're gonna be walking.
I see 2 red lights out in the distance on Front Street, and I see a fireman just come out of the smoke like a true hero in just full suit and everything. And then that's when the fire department got involved and started to rescue people. They said to everybody, like, who's gonna have trouble walking? Who's gonna have trouble making it through this fire? Because we got a ways to walk. So I got up, held the fireman's jacket, and he helped guide us. My wife had 2 dogs, and we started going down Front Street with the ocean on our left-hand side, fire on both sides, still feel the heat, the smoke, you still can barely see. After that point, we get up to an F-250, just an open, regular truck. And they just going as fast as that truck could possibly go, where I don't know how they could see because we had fire all around us. When we made up to the highway, I look back at Lahaina town, and it's gone. All the houses, the buildings, everything that I've known my whole childhood, my whole entire life, in one night was gone.
We had looked for survivors for hours now. We were running low on fuel. So we spoke to the Coast Guard. We said, I think this is our point where we have to depart. My phone rings, and it's my brother. And you know, he didn't know if I was alive or dead. And so I'm just telling him, Joe, I lost everything I built. My it's gone. I said the harbor's gone. Everybody's lost their jobs. The town is gone. But I'm still not crying. And my brother said, Chrissy, everybody knows about it on the news.
And good evening from here in Maui, where we have just learned that this is now the deadliest wildfire in modern U.S. history.
This is the largest natural disaster we've ever experienced.
Experts say that climate change is no doubt partially to blame. The island of Maui has been unusually dry.
Maui forever changed as wildfires destroy historic Lahaina town.
That moment, that's when I broke down, when he told me that the world knows that Lahaina is on fire and that help is coming.
Search and recovery efforts continue.
More than 2,100 people were housed overnight in county emergency shelters, with 4,000 tourists flown from Maui to Oahu.
Once we ended up in the shelter, I see my mom pull up. And when I saw her, and it was like one of those moments out of a movie where we're running to each other. And then I remember grabbing her and crying our eyes out.
It was amazing. We hug each other. I love my mother-in-law so much.
To see him for the first time was the most amazing experience. He was alive when I thought he was gone.
I just remember even feeling like I was collapsing into her arms because I just it's over. I made it. This is it. That's probably one of the harder things I had to deal with. And besides seeing people that passed away, but having a dog that was my responsibility, that I truly did love, didn't make it, that's something I do live with. I'll live with the rest of my life. And I have nightmares all the time about it.
I was at my sister's house, and my nephew Micah wasn't there, and I was starting to get worried. And about 30 minutes later, the knock on the door came, and it was Micah. He's a good swimmer, and he said he just made his way all the way out, and it was a beautiful sight to see him. I was still worried about what had happened to that family on the board and not knowing if they made it out or not. And apparently they did, because a couple days later, I saw the interview at the airport and I looked at this man and it was Visay.
Myself, my wife, and our 5 kids, we all got in the ocean. We were some locals that helped us too, that were with us. They're really great people. These people are amazing.
And when I saw that interview, just brought tears to my eyes, that because he said that his whole family survived and that they were okay. And I was super happy.
This is Visay, take 1, AB Mark, soft slate.
I think about it every day. Every day. Kindness is what saved us. That's from Juvie. So he didn't have to help us, but he did. I could have been dead. Or my family could have been dead. Not too many people get second chances. We did.
I don't know what made me decide to stay and help them, but I did. And I'm grateful that I did. I believe in a higher power. To me, it was my higher power that saved me and was able to give me that strength to save another family's life. I'm grateful to say that I am a survivor, and we know that Lahaina will be rebuilt and Lahaina will be back for many, many years to come. And to all those that survived the Lahaina fire, just keep fighting, don't give up.